Hi, my name is Becky Legg, and I'm proud to be the director of Restored, a Christian organisation speaking up about violence against women and equipping the church to stand with survivors against abuse. And with me is a new friend, Becky Barlow, who's the director of Beaty for Ashes Refuge in Manchester, and she'll tell us a little bit more about that in just a moment. But this month, we've been celebrating International Women's Day, and as an organisation, we've been particularly celebrating women's achievements, big and small. And you might have noticed on our social media pages, posts from survivors in our network, sharing the things that might seem small, but which feel enormous and huge achievements as they start to rebuild their lives after leaving their abusers. And we've been interviewing some of our friends who we want to celebrate them and their achievements and to share them with you and let you hear some of those stories. So, Becky, it's my great delight to introduce you to more of our friends out there in the restored world. Are you able to tell us a little bit about who you are and where you are in the world, and maybe a little bit about what you're doing nowadays?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you so much for having me on. It's really good to be here. My name's Becky Barlow, and I'm the CEO of Beaty for Ashes Refuges. We provide refuge for migrant women fleeing domestic abuse who, due to their immigration status, can't access normal refuge. Because refuges are funded by housing benefit, if a woman has insecure immigration status, it means that she can't access what we would say normal refuge. So we provide refuge for women who fall into that group. And we are based in the northwest of England.
Brilliant. What got you to this? What's your journey to this place? Because it's not the kind of thing that we just wake up one morning and go, oh, well, I'm going to open a refuge, because it's a real problem, isn't it, that women who are migrant women who haven't got a British passport yet, they're just not able, or men as well for that matter, they're not able to access the kind of resources and the securities that the rest of us can take for granted.
Yeah, that's right. So I started working in supported accommodation with victims of modern slavery over 5 years ago, and I think I was quite naive. I kind of thought we lived in a country that provided protection for anyone who was marginalised or vulnerable, but I quickly came to realise that wasn't the case working with that particular cohort. I then, around 5 years ago, changed jobs and went to work in women's refuge due to I'm a mother of 2 children. They were young at the time, and I needed something that suited me better. So I went to work in women's refuge, and I thought, I've left kind of that group behind, women's refuge. There'll be complete protection for all women, regardless of immigration or anything like that. And then I quickly realised that wasn't the case, because as I've just explained, because refuges are not statutorily funded by the government and they're funded through housing benefit, if a woman isn't entitled to housing benefit, she can't access refuge. So I remember having a conversation with my manager saying, well, what happens to these women? And it was kind of like, well, and when I looked into it, it's basically that these women, it's as dire as they stay with their abuser and face death or further abuse. And we see, unfortunately, deaths, in the media every day of women. There's one high profile one at the moment of a young girl whose uncle has just been convicted because she refused to marry a cousin in Pakistan. And these are the sort of women that we're supporting, young girls. So one night I was doing nights, and I took a call from a woman. We took calls from across the country, and she said, have you got refuge space? And we did, but she said, I've got no recourse to public funds. So she knew, and she had a child with her. I could hear a child crying in the background, and I said, oh, you've got a child there, what about social services? She said, they won't help me. I said, what about the police? She said, I'm scared of the police, which is very common with women from different countries, obviously have a fear of the police, and maybe rightly so with unfortunately what we've seen going on within the police recently. So I said, right, okay. So I looked at local homeless services, and because she was in London as well, and she said, I said, ring me back if you don't find anywhere. And anyway, she never rang me back. And that just really got me, because I thought, wow, how are we living in a country where there's a woman on the streets with a baby fleeing domestic abuse and there's nowhere for her to go? So I remember getting on my knees in the staff bedroom and praying and saying, God, what are you going to do about this? And then it was one of the only times in my life, and I didn't hear an audible voice, but it was very clear that God was saying to me, what are you going to do about this? And I was like, not much, because I'm just one little support worker.
I'm just me. Yeah.
I was like, am I going find a charity that's already doing something, give them some money, do a bit of volunteering. But over the next few months, through circumstances and words, through people in church, and God just kept putting this on my heart and on my heart and on my heart. And eventually, I was a bit like Gideon in the wine press, did a bit of hiding. But eventually, I said, yeah, come on then. Okay, God, if you're in this, then I'm going to do it. And ever since then, it's like God rolled his sleeves up and went, right, well, watch me then. And he absolutely has. We've just opened the doors of our first refuge for women and up to 5 children. We're shortly to open the doors of our second refuge within a month, which is a 6-bed purpose-built refuge for women with up to 2 children and single women. And then very soon it's looking like we're going to be opening another one, which is going to be a 10-bed. I know, that's a new development. That's going to be for single women only, because women with children, actually there is a safety net for them with children's social care will pay for a woman with children to go into refuge, which is something we've discovered, and we've got solicitors to support with that. But single women have no safety net whatsoever. So the thing that's coming from the referrers and from the statistics and everything else is they are the women who literally have no safety net. And we wanted to have, our vision is refuge for all, so obviously we have to ensure we're providing that. So the third house is going to be for single women only, but that's going to be in around a year's time. So yeah, that's quite a lot of information, isn't it? But there you go.
It is a lot of information, but it's such an incredible step to go for. I mean, how long ago did you have that conversation on the phone that led to the prayer, that led to the challenge? How long ago was that?
So it's about 5 years ago. I've not been there very long. So yeah, it took 5 years to get to this point, but we did start the actual process of gathering together people for a board and everything else, and becoming a charity. We became a charity in March 21, so we're nearly 2. But there was a year of working behind the scenes. So it was actually just before lockdown that we really decided, let's go for it. And then lockdown happened. So you can imagine, it's funny because everyone says, so what did you do during lockdown? Well, so yeah, it was a bit of a crazy time really, but yeah, it's not been a quick journey by any means.
No, but it's an extraordinary journey to go from, God, what are you going to do about this, to, oh, now I've got 3 refuges opening. That's I mean, it's an extraordinary thing, and I love that actually that you go, actually this is taking lots of hard work from you and your board and your friends. Fundamentally you've gone, we'll join you in this through, but you also go, actually none of it's possible without God, because he's done extraordinary things through you and for you and with you, and it's been amazing, hasn't it?
Yeah, one of our verses is God is able to do immeasurably more, because every time we make a plan and God directs our steps, and that has been our absolute word over Beauty for Ashes, because we do make our plans. We have to be strategic, but every time God just does immeasurably more. And I should say that actually, obviously, the reason we're called Beauty for Ashes is because when I prayed that prayer, I felt that when God said to me, what are you going to do about this? He filled my heart with he showed me how much he loves these women and children, and the overflow of love. I can't explain to you what it was like. And when I realized how much he loves them, and the verse he gave me was, I want to give them beauty for ashes, a garment of praise instead of despair. And it was just so clear. And I knew then straight away that, if this happened, it was going to be called Beauty for Ashes, and then obviously Refuges, because we were clear there were going to be more than one. We just didn't think it was going to be this quick. But again, God damn it. Yeah, there should be more.
It's just, well, yeah. How big is that? We'll see. It's I loved meeting you last year and hearing your story, and I'm so pleased to share it with more people. I think it's just extraordinary and amazing. And that Beauty for Ashes verse, it's such a beauty. It's one of our verses too, because that's what we want to see, isn't it? Is see people's lives restored, see them replace the ashes and the mess with something that is beautiful. And I used to live overseas. I used to live in Kenya, and I lived on the edge of a volcano, which was almost extinct, not quite, but sometimes, but there were places where you could see plants and things that were growing through where the volcano had gone off in the past, and this just ability for there to be new life where there appears to be no way, I think is just, you know, that's God's speciality, isn't it? It's beautiful.
Absolutely, yeah. I love that picture. That's fab.
It's so this month we're celebrating achievements. How do you, you've got this extraordinary story, and it, you know, it might be separate to this, but how do you define achievement? What does that mean to you?
Thought hard about this, because when you said to me, sent through the questions and things, and for me, I think achievement is not giving up in despite what's going on around you. Because if I'd looked at what was going on around me with all this, there's no way I would have gone forward. But if you know there's a need, and you believe that God cares for these people, then I think for me achievement is keeping going, just no matter what. Seeking godly wisdom, absolutely, and you know, not being blinded, but just being really focused, and just keeping going, and believing in what you know that you've been told to do, if that makes sense.
That makes total sense, because I think sometimes we think achievements have to look like medals, or, you know, big accolades or great big things, but they're hanging in there sometimes is, and that perseverance is a massive achievement, isn't it?
Yeah.
And have you got something, so I mean, that might tie in very beautifully with what you think your achievements have been and what they look like.
So for me, it's been gathering together a group of strong, empowered women to do this alongside me. Because I remember when I said to God, okay, yeah, let's go, let's do this. I remember one of my first prayers was, okay, God, I need a really, it's quite niche, this thing. I need women who've got lived experience. I need women from different cultures, different ethnicities to represent the women that we're going to be supporting. I need women who know the sector, have professional experience around domestic abuse. And I remember thinking, what an impossible prayer. But again, God has done immeasurably more. I've got a fantastic board of women. I've got a safeguarding specialist, a HR specialist. I've got a woman who was involved working in the council around domestic abuse. I've got a woman who's a health visitor. We've just added an immigration advisor to our board, which is unbelievable.
Nice.
So excited about that. And they're all from different cultures and ethnicities, which again I really wanted, so that we're making sure that the voices of the survivors and that we're representing them at the heart of everything we do. So to me, that is aside from having my children, of course, which I have to say is my biggest achievement, because and I don't know if it's fully mine. I think obviously I prayed and God has been involved in bringing those women together, but yeah, they're an amazing group, and I'm so inspired by them, and excited to have them on the board and with me.
Yeah, that's a really beautiful thing, that your greatest achievements, people. I like that very much. I think that's, but we're the same, you know. Sometimes we go out to recruit and we think, man, it's like looking for a unicorn, like a golden rainbow unicorn, and then they appear and you go, wow, that's amazing. I'm so thrilled to hear that. And I know at least one of the people on your board, so I think you've done very well indeed. They are an achievement. Nice work. That's
I should mention her actually. Ruth is a fantastic advocate and feminist, and she just brings so much wisdom, and she asks the difficult questions when they need asking. So yeah, every single member of our board is just amazing, and yeah, definitely a fantastic achievement.
Yeah. Well, as a fellow CEO, I know just how helpful it is to have a board that is engaged and wants to be involved, and is ask those difficult questions. I don't always like the difficult questions, but they're important.
Don't they?
Yeah. No, it's great. But so how about the women that you're working with then? What would they consider? Because achievement looks different, doesn't it, for everybody? But what does achievement look like for them?
Yeah, so for them, like you were saying before, to us, things that might seem small are absolutely huge. So a lot of the women that we support come from cultures that are very patriarchal, and they're not allowed out the house without a man. And they wouldn't even walk to the shop without a man. So when they come to us and they've lived under this oppression for so long, it's a massive thing to go to the shop to go to Tesco on their own, to do the school run on their own. So we are all about walking alongside and supporting and empowering. So we will, at the beginning, we will maybe go with them, and then we will say, right, okay, next time, do you want to go on your own? And so I remember coming in one Monday, because the refuge slow support needs, so it's not covered over the weekend as an on-call. And on Monday morning coming in, and the lady saying to me, I went to Tesco this weekend on my own. And I was like, that's amazing. And that is amazing, because, you know, imagine living for 35 years and never leaving the house without a man. So for them, that is huge. And I remember once, another achievement I can explain is a woman, she needed to get some cash out of the cash machine. I said, oh, there's a cash machine at the petrol station. I've never used a cash machine. So obviously supported her to do that. And I remember her saying, wow, this is having that financial independence of even having your own bank account, huge achievement. And then being able to access your own funds and then budget accordingly and spend it on what you want to spend it on. These are things that we as British women take for granted, and you know, we shouldn't really, because there's huge swathes of the world, and it's happening in our country where there's women living under oppression like that. And for them, it's a huge achievement to be able to go shopping on their own and things like that. So
yeah, no, we've been asking the survivors in our network this month, you know, what are those things for you? And it's all kinds of things, from being able to paint, decorate the living room the colour they want, and or go and actually get a haircut, being allowed to have a haircut. There's those little things that seem so simple and ordinary to so many of us, and yet which actually just suddenly become massive things for people who've actually been controlled for such a long time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Brilliant. So how about you? So what, actually, do you know what, this next question is, can you tell us about a time you overcame a challenge? I think the whole of the last 5 years for you has been that, hasn't it? But is there been anything when perhaps there's something in particular where you've really overcome something and really learned from failure or something like that?
Yeah. So like I say, it has been a long process, and although it sounds, when I tell the story in a nutshell, it's like, and you know, it sounds like, oh wow, that's amazing, and it's happened so fast. But actually, the 6-bedroom purpose-built refuge was meant to be open a year ago, and it's only happening in the next month. So it's going to have been nearly 2 years from the when we acquired the building, and then to get to opening. And that has been a very difficult, long, challenging process, when there's been times when I've thought, is this actually meant to be? Because there's been obstacle after obstacle after obstacle, just administration, red tape, the things I've learned about planning, you wouldn't believe, planning permission and things. But, you know, it's just been very difficult, but it's been challenging for my faith, but in a good way, because I've realised that I had to just keep my eyes on what I knew, the vision I'd been given, and just keep believing. And there were times when I thought, you know, we got decisions and that put us back 6 months and then put us back again, and I'm thinking, what is going on here? But it's just keeping, for me, it was just keeping my eyes on the fact that this is the vision I've been given, and it is meant to be. And we're now seeing the fruition of that. And we saw God's timing in the refuge that's already open, which is just a 3-bed for one family, that opened first. And we can understand why now, because that's us being able to embed the staff team there, get the all our policies, procedures, paperwork up and running, has been actually a godsend. Because now when we open the 6-bed in a month's time, people know what they're doing, everything's in place, you know, and I can really see God in that. But at the time, I was wondering what was going on. That wouldn't have been my timing, but God's timing is always better, even though at the time you do wonder
even if you can't see it. You can't see it when it's going on. And I guess then, you know, in the midst of all of those challenges, and when, you know, and just seeing, because I know doing the work that you and I do, the work that we do in our organizations, it can, like, sometimes the scale of the need is so overwhelming, isn't it? You know, and then when you get setbacks and you hear the stories of women, and you just think, gosh, what on earth's going on in the world? How do you manage to keep hold of hope in the midst of all of that?
It's tough sometimes, because during those months when we had no refuge open whatsoever, I was getting phone calls, I wouldn't say on a daily basis, but quite regularly. Are you open yet? Have you got space? Have you got space? And I'm thinking, God, no, I haven't got space. Why have we not got space yet? Why are we not open? But I don't know. It's just, sometimes we have to trust God, don't we, when we don't understand why things are happening. So for me, it was just realizing and letting go and being honest and thinking, do you know what? God's timing is perfect. It might not be mine, but I've just got to accept it. So, and doing what little you can in the meantime, and, you know, referring on to other refuges, trying to support them to take women like this, because there are ways and means. It's just more complicated and more difficult. So yeah, I think that's it really.
You know, it's been so lovely to hear you chat. One last question: how can anybody who's listening cheer you on and encourage you? What can we do? How can we be praying for you, or helping the work that you're doing really flourish? What can we do?
Well, yeah, prayer is key. I mean, we're calling the refuge Chinaza House, which means God answers in Nigerian, because that has been our story. So the key thing over giving or anything else for us is prayer, because that is what has got us to this point. So we would really ask that people do keep us in your prayers. But in terms of the group of women we support, the Domestic Abuse Act had a chance to enshrine in law protection for migrant women fleeing domestic abuse. And when it went to the House of Lords, they put amendments in place that would have protected them. And then when it went back to the government voted against them. So it was a massive glaring error, really, that, you know, these women weren't protected. But there are campaigns you can get involved in. Step Up Migrant Women is one of them. But just to maybe write to your MP about this issue, so that, you know, we're keeping it in the forefront of people's minds, because at the end of the day, these are women who are literally losing their lives because of, you know, let's be honest, that the hostile environment, you know, that the government is putting in place, unfortunately. And, you know, there's their children as well. So, you know, I believe that as Christians, we have a duty. You know, sometimes we can leave our politics at the door, and that's absolutely fine. But sometimes politics has its place, and we can be writing to MPs. We can be, you know, making that step to try and protect the destitute and the vulnerable. And obviously, if anybody would like to get in touch with me, I can leave my email address or something. I can give you more information, or template letters or something like that. But yeah, there is advocacy that we can be doing in the meantime.
We should collaborate on that. We should do something together. That would be a good idea. And your website, we can put this on a link in a minute, and we'll put this over the video. But what's your website if people would like to find out more, see more about what you're doing?
Yeah, so it's just beautyforashesrefuges.org.
We can do that, and we'll put that across the top, because it is important. I was at a thing back in November. I was at an event about the Istanbul Convention, which was ratified in the summer by the UK government, but with reservations. That then meant that the Istanbul Convention was created about 10 years ago, and 11 now probably, and it was designed to put into law and put into statute this like protection of women's rights. And our government ratified it with reservations around migrant women. So their rights aren't enshrined, which just devalues, says, you know, women can be protected apart from these ones. And so I think, you know, and there are still campaigns going on around that. And there is a review in process about the 2021 Abuse Act, Domestic Abuse Act. So yeah, contacting your MP about those things and saying, actually, all women should be protected, not just the ones with the right passports. Really matters, doesn't it?
Refugees should not have to be checking passports before they accept referral, but it's the government, unfortunately, have put them in that position. Referral should be able to be assessed on level of risk, and that's what we do. But obviously, it's no fault of refugees in this country that they've been put in that position where, you know,
because they can't afford to run otherwise, can they? They've got to be able to function. No. Otherwise they're no use at all. Well, Becky, it's been so lovely to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining us. We shall continue praying for you and supporting you, and we'll point people in your direction too. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.